This is where we take expert sources, find the absolute core knowledge, and really give you that playbook for success.
Yep.
Our mission today, laser focused. We're looking at 10 proven strategies, the kind that take, everyday communication and turn it into something truly memorable, impactful.
Right.
If you're here, you want that knowledge fast, but also thorough. So we're going deep into the behavioral science behind mastering your words.
And what's really fascinating right off the bat is how the sources just broaden that definition. Communication. It's not like some niche thing for CEOs giving keynotes.
No, exactly.
It's central to almost everything you do. Think about expressing a complex idea in a meeting, giving tough feedback, comforting a friend, even just, writing an email that cannot be misunderstood.
That's all communication.
Yeah.
Every bit of it.
It's all practice.
And we often really underestimate the leverage this gives us. The stakes, they're incredibly high. Communicate well, and people don't just hear you. They listen. They respect your view.
They remember what you said long after the meeting ends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when communication breaks down, well, the sources warn us, it's not just minor awkwardness.
No, it proliferates. Relationships take a hit. Misunderstandings spread like wildfire across a team, and those career opportunities, they just poof, vanish silently.
Yeah. If we look at the bigger picture, like the gold standard for mixing that tech complexity with real human connection, people often point to figures like Steve Jobs.
Right. The sources definitely highlight him, and not just for the products, the genius engineering, but because he was a master communicator.
Those presentations were something else.
Legendary, yeah. Because he could take incredibly complex technology, stuff that's really abstract for most people, and make it sound simple, exciting, even emotional.
He built that bridge, didn't he, between the tech reality and the feeling of it.
Exactly. That ability to move people with language, that's kind of what we're aiming for today, understanding how that works.
Which really hits the core belief of this deep dive. Great communication is absolutely a skill you can learn. You can refine it.
Totally learnable, not innate.
You don't have to be born some amazing speaker. You just need to internalize and then, actually use specific practical techniques.
Small habits, big changes.
We're going to isolate those habits. The ones that create those seismic, lasting shifts in your life and career. Okay, so let's unpack this playbook. And interestingly, we're starting not with talking, but with receiving. Section 1 is all about receptive skills, looking outward. And tip number 1 right away challenges that common idea. It says, listen more than you speak.
Yeah, this is hands down the most underrated skill. People think it's just being quiet, right?
Right. Waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly. Most people assume good communication means talking smoothly, eloquently. But the sources, they're crystal clear. The best communicators are actually the best listeners, astute listener.
So it's not just about being quiet.
No, it's active. The sources actually challenge you. Try this experiment. Next time you're in a really crucial conversation, consciously stop yourself from planning your brilliant response. Just listen. Focus on absorbing.
Okay, but what's the practical payoff? Analytically speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, besides just not interrupting someone, which is good manners.
Well, the payoff is immediate, and it's twofold. First, psychologically, when you really listen, like dedicate brain power to absorbing what they're saying, people feel valued deeply.
Right. Instant validation.
Right. And that bypasses skepticism, builds trust almost instantly. Second, analytically, you learn so much more. Their perspective, sure, but also their tone, their emotional state, the specific words they choose.
The subtext.
Exactly, the subtext. And that's the only way to craft a truly smart, thoughtful response later. Because you're responding to what was actually said, substance and subtext, not just, the key words you happen to catch.
Got it. So to make this really actionable, the sources get specific. They define active listening. It's not passive hearing, it's deliberate techniques. 4 of them.
Precisely. Active listening is work you can see. First, consistent eye contact. Not staring, but consistent. It signals engagement.
Shows you're present, mentally too.
Right. Second, appropriate nonverbals. Nodding, maybe leaning in slightly, shows you're tracking. But, don't make it look robotic.
It needs to be natural.
Third, consciously avoid interrupting. This is huge. It's a powerful sign of respect, of patience. Lets them finish their whole thought.
And that 4th step, that's the one that really seals the deal on trust, isn't it? The summarizing part.
Absolutely. Critical piece. Summarizing or paraphrasing what they said to confirm you actually understood. You might say something like, okay, so if I'm hearing you right, the main issue is X. Because of why. Is that accurate?
Reflective listening, they call it.
That's it. Reflective listening. It closes that loop. Prevents those potentially huge misunderstandings down the line. It's the difference between saying, yeah, I heard you, and proving I understand what you said and why it matters.
That jump from just hearing to really understanding, it leads perfectly into the next big one, tip number 5. Developing emotional intelligence.
EQ.
Yeah, the game changer. This feels like moving beyond just the words on the page or the literal words spoken and starting to read the human context.
Exactly. Emotional intelligence, EQ. It's about awareness of your own emotions and, critically, the ability to understand and manage the emotions of others.
And for our listeners, this isn't just like fluffy self-help stuff, is it?
Not at all. High EQ has direct correlations. Less conflict, more collaboration. Tangible business outcomes, like less churn on projects. When you have high EQ, you can accurately gauge how someone's feeling and, crucially, respond in a way that builds connection, not conflict.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. There's a scenario in the source material. Imagine you're in a stressful meeting, high stakes. A colleague starts getting sharp, clearly frustrated.
Right. The typical low EQ reaction, you feel attacked personally, you get defensive, mirror their frustration.
Escalation.
Exactly. But EQ gives you a different path. It helps you pause, recognize, okay, this frustration probably isn't about me, it's likely external pressure. It lets you address the root cause, not just the symptom.
So what does that sound like? The high EQ response.
It sounds like, hey, I can hear the frustration in your voice. You seem pretty stressed. Before we dig into the data, maybe tell me what's contributing to that pressure. Or something similar.
Wow. Just checking that emotional temperature first.
It instantly de-escalates, builds trust. And that points to a crucial insight the research really hammers home. People don't always remember the exact data points you shared, or the precise quotes.
But they always remember how you made them feel.
Always. Your emotional intelligence dictates that lasting impact. It shapes your professional legacy, really.
Which flows so naturally into tip number 8. Bridging conflicts using empathy and perspective.
Yes. If EQ is recognizing the emotion, empathy is actively acknowledging it, respecting it, even if you completely disagree with their position.
So it's a big mindset shift. Instead of going into a disagreement trying to win, trying to prove them wrong.
The primary goal, the non-negotiable first step, is to fully understand their side. Why do they feel that way? What's their perspective based on?
The most effective communication, the sources argue, the really beautiful kind, is built on that shared understanding first.
And this means using specific empathetic language. And we need to be clear, it's empathy, not sympathy, not feeling for them, but recognizing their feeling.
Okay, what kind of phrases help?
The sources give us concrete examples, phrases that show respect for their feelings without you having to give up your own view. Simple things like, I see where you're coming from and I respect that viewpoint. Or, okay, I understand why you'd feel that way, especially given the constraints we're under.
That simple acknowledgement, just saying, I see you, essentially, it's powerful.
It really is. It makes the other person feel heard, feel seen. Before you even offer your counter-argument or alternative idea, it kind of psychologically disarms them.
Right, transforms it from a battle into, well, a conversation aimed at finding common ground.
Exactly. And this whole receptive approach, this focus on understanding first, it ties perfectly into the last receptive skill here, tip number 9, the art of invitation, asking meaningful questions.
Right, because good communicators don't just hold the floor, do they? They don't dominate.
No, they actively invite others in. They make sure it's a two-way street, a connection, not just a monologue waiting for applause.
And when you ask someone for their detailed thoughts, their experience, you're basically communicating that their voice matters. It has value.
Absolutely. And the quality of the questions you ask determines the depth you can reach. We need to focus on open-ended questions.
Not the yes-no kind.
Right. Those closed questions, like, do you agree with this plan? They tend to shut discussion down. But open-ended questions show genuine curiosity. They deepen the conversation.
Can you give some examples of those deeper, more useful questions the sources suggest?
Sure. They're questions designed to get more than just facts. They aim for narrative, for insight, maybe even emotion. Things like, what's your take on this potential risk? What contingency steps have you thought about? Or, can you tell me more about what happened at that specific stage?
Getting them to elaborate.
Exactly. Or even more emotionally perceptive, like, how did that outcome make you feel about the next steps we're considering? Questions like these effectively pass the microphone.
And you gather crucial information that then shapes your own delivery later.
Perfectly. It informs everything that comes next.
Okay, so these first 4 tips listening: EQ, Empathy. Asking questions. They're like the input channels, right? Gathering data, refining the emotional context, making sure your message is tailored before you even hit send.
Precisely. Input first.
Now, let's pivot. Let's move seamlessly into the expressive skills. How do we actually deliver that filtered, refined message with maximum clarity and confidence?
Right. Output time. We move now to tip number 2, which is all about that internal discipline, control, pausing for purpose, or basically thinking before you speak.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. That rush of adrenaline, maybe you feel challenged, you just blurt something out.
And regret it, sometimes for hours, sometimes days.
Definitely. The sources really emphasize this. Installing a short pause before you respond. Even just 2 or 3 seconds. Deliberate silence. It's like the best preventative maintenance for your relationships.
It really is. Great communicators don't just react, they process, they filter, organize their thoughts first.
Why is that pause so critical, though? What happens those few seconds?
It gives you time to consciously run your thought through what the sources call the triple filter check. Behavioral analysts suggest this little delay lets your thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, take back control from the emotional reactive part, the limbic system.
Okay, the triple filter. What are the questions?
Before you open your mouth, ask yourself 3 things. 1, is what I'm about to say clear? 2, is it kind? And 3, is it helpful?
Clear, kind, helpful. That's a really powerful quality control check right there.
Absolutely.
But here's the practical hurdle. In a fast-moving debate, or maybe a tough Q&A, won't pausing like that make you look, I don't know, unsure, slow?
That's a super common fear, yeah. But the research actually argues the opposite. That deliberate pause, it tends to make the speaker sound remarkably confident, calm, wise even.
Really? How so?
You're non-verbally communicating that your words have weight, they're considered, worth waiting for, unlike someone just firing off reactions. And if your potential response fails any one of those 3 tests, clarity, kindness, helpfulness, that pause is what saves you. It protects your credibility.
Okay, that makes sense. Speaking of clarity, tip number 3 reminds us, simplicity is power. We often have this idea, maybe subconsciously, that using big words or really complex sentences makes us sound smart, sophisticated.
Right. Impressive. But the sources argue it often just creates distance, intellectual static.
The goal isn't to impress, it's to express.
Exactly. The sources are absolutely clear. The primary purpose of communication is to get the idea across, not to show off your vocabulary. In fact, they argue, if you truly understand something complex, you should be able to explain it simply.
That simplicity itself is the proof of mastery, the clarity test.
That's it.
And there's a specific rule for this clarity test in the sources. It's fantastic, really easy to apply.
Yeah, the 12-year-old test.
Right. If you can explain your core idea so that a reasonably informed 12-year-old could grasp the concept and why it matters, then your communication works. It's effective.
And that test works because it forces you to ditch the jargon, unnecessary jargon. For the listener, jargon is like cognitive friction.
Yeah, you have to stop and translate.
Right. They're spending mental energy decoding your special terms instead of just absorbing the message. The sources call out typical workplace offenders. Like, instead of saying leveraging synergistic cross-platform optimization initiatives, just say getting our teams to work together better online, Use short, clear, relatable language. It drastically cuts the cognitive load for your audience.
So the techniques are straightforward, but they take discipline. Simple language, concrete examples, avoid buzzwords, speak at a natural pace, not rushed.
And the result? Behavioral studies show clearer messages are listened to longer. And critically, they're remembered better, easier to recall later on.
Okay, clear and simple. Got it. Now, we can't talk about delivery without hitting tip number 4, speaking without words, using confident body language.
Absolutely crucial. The sources give us this really striking statistic, something we just have to absorb. Roughly 70%? 70 of what we communicate is nonverbal.
70%. Wow, that's huge. That means most of your message is landing before you even say a word. Your body's telling a story instantly. So what does that confident body language look like? What's an immediate message it sends?
Well, that confident impression, it's visceral. It involves things like standing or sitting tall, but relaxed, not stiff or rigid.
Poised.
Poised, yeah. Maintaining appropriate, friendly eye contact signals, sincerity, presence. This whole posture sends a message. I'm approachable, I'm comfortable, I believe in what I'm about to say.
And we also need to be aware of the flip side, right? The negative signals we might be sending without realizing it.
Oh, definitely. Equally true. Slouching, fidgeting constantly, maybe adjusting clothes, avoiding eye contact, speaking too softly. These are all like non-verbal leaks.
Yes, I like that.
They signal uncertainty, defensiveness maybe, and they undermine your words before they're even out there. The sources give specific practical things you can do.
Actionable tips.
Right. Keep your posture straight but relaxed. Consciously smile now and then. It actually relaxes you and the listener. Use your hands naturally to emphasize points. It shows openness, not nerves. And maintain that friendly, steady eye contact.
This really reframes confidence, doesn't it? It's not about being the loudest person in the room, dominating the space.
Not necessarily. It's more about being comfortable, authentic in your own skin, so your physical presence just naturally aligns with your verbal message. That's confidence. Okay, so we've covered receptive skills, the input, and expressive skills, the output. Now we need the path. How do we sustain growth? How do we refine this? That starts right with tip number 6, face the fear. Commit to practicing public speaking.
And acknowledging the difficulty here is key, I think. The sources confirm it. Glossophobia, fear of public speaking, it's still one of the most common anxieties out there.
Huge. Even experienced speakers feel those nerves. Everybody does.
But the key to managing it, maybe conquering it, according to the research, is this start small, grow big idea.
Exactly. That small start needs to be low stakes, but consistent. Maybe it's just committing to speaking up once in every team meeting, or sharing a thought in a small group discussion instead of, sending that safe email later.
Consistent low-stakes reps, like exercise.
It recalibrates your nervous system slowly. And there's a great tool recommended for speeding up growth, recording yourself on your phone.
Ooh, that sounds uncomfortable, listening back to your own voice.
Yeah.
But I guess it's necessary, huh? What should you look for when you do that self-assessment?
Yeah, it can be cringeworthy at first, but you need to be analytical, not just self-critical. Look for the filler words, the ums, ahs, likes. They often pop up when you haven't used tip 2, the pause.
Right, when you're trying to fill silence instead of thinking.
Exactly. Analyze your pace. Are you rushing when nervous? Listen to your tone. Does it sound confident, or is it kind of flat, monotone? Identify those patterns, then adjust in the next practice.
And for people looking for more structure, the sources mention speaking clubs.
Yes, formal groups like Toastmasters get cited often. They're seen as great accelerators because they give you that safe space. Structured environment for trying things out, getting peer feedback, and just getting those consistent reps in.
Makes sense.
Ultimately, though, the goal of all this practice isn't to become some perfect robotic speaker. It's authenticity. When you practice enough, it becomes muscle memory. You can speak more from the heart.
And the audience feels that, connects with that, even if you, stumble over a word.
Precisely. They connect with the real you.
Which leads perfectly into tip number 7. Learn from the masters. Surround yourself with quality communication. Watch those great TED Talks, listen to well-crafted podcasts, read books on influence and rhetoric.
Yeah, but this isn't passive consumption, right? It's active study. We need to become students of technique. The sources mention people like Simon Sinek for his clarity and structure.
To start with why.
Right, or Dale Carnegie for those foundational principles of connection. But the key question is, what exactly are we watching for? What are we dissecting?
We need to look past just the topic and see the structure underneath.
Exactly. Pay attention. How do they use pauses? For drama? For emphasis? How does their tone shift? To convey urgency? Or maybe intimacy? How do they structure their stories? Often it's that classic 3-act structure, even in a business pitch.
Interesting. Look for rhythm, flow.
Rhythm, flow, rhetorical devices. Like great speakers often use the rule of 3, grouping ideas in 3s makes them stick. Or anaphora, repeating a word or phrase at the beginning of clauses for emphasis. Steve Jobs did that brilliantly.
So by consuming and analyzing this quality communication, you're sort of unconsciously building your own toolkit, your sense of structure, rhythm.
You internalize it. And the sources suggest a really potent technique here. Try mimicking the delivery of speakers you admire. Not to copy their personality, no, but to internalize how they handle pauses, tone, pacing.
Learn the mechanics.
Learn the mechanics. Over time, that helps you distill it all down and develop your own unique natural style.
And that word, natural, it brings us right to tip number 10, the ultimate connection point. Be authentic.
Yes. In this world we live in, with all the filters, the polished social media, the carefully scripted presentations, realness stands out. It's what builds the strongest connections, the most resilient ones.
So we need to fight that urge, the urge to sound like some hyper-corporate version of ourselves or use super formal language just to sound important.
Definitely. The research is clear. People connect with real people. If you're naturally funny, use appropriate humor. If you're naturally calm, measured, embrace that steadiness. You have to bring your true self to the table.
Okay. And authenticity also means being okay with not being perfect, handling mistakes.
Absolutely. It's about embracing imperfection gracefully. If you trip over a word, forget where you're going for a second, make a small error. The authentic approach is just laugh it off. Acknowledge the human moment. Keep going.
That vulnerability builds more trust than pretending to be infallible.
Way more. That willingness to be human reinforces your credibility. Authenticity is the bedrock. Everything else is built on it.
Okay, so to pull these growth tips together, practice, modeling, authenticity, there's this fantastic, really detailed story from the sources about Maya, a young professional in tech.
Right, Maya, brilliant woman, deep thinker, amazing technical ideas, but she had that paralyzing fear we talked about, glossophobia.
So in meetings, she just stayed quiet.
Yeah, worried she'd sound stupid or state the obvious. So because she lacked that expressive confidence, her brilliance was basically invisible to the higher-ups.
That silence was costing her, career-wise. So what was the turning point?
Her manager, thankfully a good manager who saw her potential, gave her really clear, direct feedback. Said something like, Maya, your written reports have the best ideas, the most innovative thinking, but no one shares them if you don't speak them. You're letting others fill the silence, and frankly, they're getting credit for less original thoughts.
Ouch, but necessary. Framed it as a professional obligation almost.
Exactly, not a personal failing. So Maya decided, okay, I need to tackle this. Using this kind of playbook, actually. She started incredibly small, committed to sharing just one clear, simple idea per meeting. That's it.
Manageable, less pressure.
Right. And she focused purely on tip 4, body language, making friendly eye contact with maybe 3 different people. And tip 3, simplicity, breaking down her complex tech points.
And what happened?
The results were, well, kind of exponential, because her ideas were already excellent, right?
Yeah.
Once she just started putting them out there, clearly, confidently, she gained traction immediately. Within just a few months, she went from being the silent genius in the corner to being one of the most respected voices on her team. People actively sought out her opinion.
That's amazing. It really shows how those small, consistent steps in communication build confidence, which then just unlocks opportunity.
Perfectly illustrates the whole theme. Small steps, big impact. #tag outro.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive. 10 strategies for powerful communication. We went way beyond just speak well, didn't we? Covered receptive skills, delivery principles, and that path to real growth.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. 10 strategies straight from the sources, making up a really comprehensive toolkit. Maybe we should quickly list them again, just to lock in the playbook.
Good idea. Number 1, listen more than you speak. Use those active listening techniques, especially that reflective summary.
Number 2, think before you talk. Run it through the triple filter check. Clear, kind, helpful.
Number 3, be clear and simple. Aim to pass that 12-year-old test. Cut the jargon. Reduce the cognitive load.
Number 4, use confident body language. Remember that 70%. Your nonverbals have to match your words.
Number 5, develop emotional intelligence, EQ, because how you make people feel is what lasts.
Number 6, practice public speaking. Start small, grow big. Use self-assessment, check your pace, tone, fillers.
Number 7, read, watch, learn from the masters. People like Carnegie, Sinek, actively study their structure, their rhythm, their rhetoric.
Number 8, show empathy and perspective. Use empathetic language. Acknowledge feelings first. Turn conflict into conversation.
Number 9, ask meaningful, open-ended questions. Invite others in. Make it a true two-way connection.
And number 10, be authentic. Your realness is your most valuable asset. It's the foundation for credibility, for trust. Non-negotiable.
Absolutely. The core message through all of this really is that great communication isn't about being perfect, flawless.
No, it's about expressing yourself honestly, listening deeply, connecting genuinely with the actual human being in front of you, being real, being prepared, and being present.
And as we close out this deep dive, here's that provocative thought I want you to really sit with. We know confidence grows with practice, but think about the flip side. Consider the immediate, maybe hidden cost of not communicating clearly in your life right now.
What's slipping through the cracks?
Exactly. How many opportunities, how many relationships that could be deeper, how much career progress might be silently vanishing just because an idea stays unspoken, or a crucial question isn't asked, or feedback lands badly.
Yeah, the cost of silence or poor communication can be huge.
So the goal isn't instant perfection. That's way too much pressure. The goal is just start. Pick one thing from today. Just one of these 10 steps.
Maybe the pause. Maybe asking one open-ended question. Maybe summarizing what you heard.
Just one thing. Start practicing it today. And then consciously notice. Notice how your relationships start to shift, how your confidence grows, how opportunities might start to open up.
Start today. That's the real power you take away from this deep dive.